You should be grateful we even let you live here. She said it with her back to the sink, like it wasn't cruel, just true. Jenna, 17. My wife Meg's daughter. Her mouth curled around the words like she was doing me a favor, like I should bow my head and thank her for the privilege. My hand froze mid-reach for the coffee filter. It was barely past 8. The light in the kitchen was still cold and gray from the overcast sky outside. The coffee hadn't even brewed yet. And there she stood, arms crossed, chin lifted, in a house I paid for. I waited for Meg to say something. Anything. She didn't. She sat at the kitchen island in that stupid white robe she loved, stirring her tea with the spoon clinking lightly against ceramic, pretending she hadn't heard. But I knew she had. Everyone in that room heard. Jenna made sure of it. The silence after was more brutal than the sentence itself. Jenna didn't flinch. She just walked past me like I wasn't there and plucked her hydro flask off the counter. That was the moment. Right there. That was when the gears locked into place. Something shifted, not like a crack, but a clean break. Not sudden, but final. 10 months. That's how long I'd been covering the rent on that house. The lease was technically in Meg's name, a holdover from before we moved in together. It's just easier that way, she'd said when we were apartment hunting. Simpler for the paperwork. I didn't argue. Back then, I trusted her with everything. I assumed we were building something together. I paid the first month, and the second, and every one after that. Autopay, $2,850 a month like clockwork, plus groceries, utilities, insurance. I even covered the therapist Meg insisted Jenna see after a school fight that was somehow always the other girl's fault. I never saw the receipts land in Jenna's hands, but I saw the aftermath. New sneakers, new iPad, smoothie bowls with imported blueberries while my son asked if we could get more discount crayons from the dollar store. My name is Andrew. I'm 41. Remote software developer. Cody, my son, is 9. He draws more than he speaks. Quiet, cautious, like he knows the world owes him nothing and might even take what little he has if he looks too proud. We moved in with Meg and Jenna last year to blend. That's the word she used. A blended family. Meg was still fresh off her divorce. Her ex, a man who apparently couldn't tell a wrench from a wine bottle, had vanished downstate with a yoga instructor and now sent birthday cards that were always late and always empty. I thought I could be different. Not better, just steady, consistent, reliable. I was wrong. Jenna never accepted Cody. She tolerated him the way you tolerate someone else's dog in your backyard. At first, it was subtle. She accidentally threw out his drawings. She called him clingy when he followed her into the kitchen. She locked the door when he knocked to use the shared bathroom. Meg called it growing pains. I called it disrespect. Cody started sleeping with the light on. Then the door open. Then, eventually, he just stopped coming out of his room unless I called him. I saw the fear in his eyes. Not of Jenna, not even of Meg, but of me leaving him behind. I stayed longer than I should have because of that fear. And Meg? She drifted. Some nights, she'd fall asleep on the couch with her phone still lit up with group texts and Pinterest boards. Other nights she'd light candles and pretend nothing was wrong. She always had a way of making silence feel like a compromise, like if I didn't bring it up, we were okay. But I wasn't okay. I was subsidizing a life I wasn't allowed to belong to. The night before Jenna made her declaration, Cody had asked if he could stay over at a friend's house the following weekend. Just for one night, Dad, please. I asked why. He shrugged and said it was just quieter there. That stuck in my chest all night. And then the next morning, there it was. Jenna's words, spoken like a verdict. You should be grateful we even let you live here. Not just a comment, a sentence. A line drawn through me the way you cross out an error in ink. And Meg said nothing. That night I waited until they both went to bed. I took my laptop to the couch, logged into the leasing portal, canceled autopay. Then I went to the joint bank account. It was never really joint, it was mine with her name added. I drained everything except $100 and closed it. I opened a new account in my name, transferred Cody's savings, his health card, every document that mattered. I stood in the hallway for a long time before I went to bed, watching the light flicker under Meg's door, wondering if she'd even notice when I was gone. I packed slowly over 2 nights, not out of fear, out of clarity. For Cody, his sketchbooks, his car blanket, his hoodie with the tear in the sleeve that he refused to throw away. For me, laptop, contracts, backup drives, the fireproof box with my birth certificate and passport. Essentials. Nothing more. On the last night, I left the keys on the kitchen windowsill. No note. Just a 1-line email sent to Meg's inbox at 2:07 a.m. Since I was lucky to live there, I'll be lucky elsewhere. Thanks for the reminder. I didn't slam the door. I didn't text her a breakup manifesto. I didn't say goodbye to Jenna. She'd already made it clear I wasn't part of the picture. Cody and I slipped out before sunrise. The Uber driver didn't even ask questions, just helped load the bags into the back seat while Cody hugged his blanket and stared out at the pale blue house one last time. We signed the lease on a studio the next day. Small, clean, 2 blocks from Cody's school. It smelled like paint and possibility. No echoing footsteps, no slammed doors, just space. That night, we ate gas station pizza on the hardwood floor and watched cartoons on my laptop. Cody laughed at something dumb, mouth full of pepperoni, and for the first time in months, I saw him fall asleep without a twitch. No nightmares, no light on, just peace. And me? I lay awake in the dark and listened to the silence. Real silence. The kind that doesn't hum with resentment. And for once, I didn't feel like a guest in my own life. The truth is, I could have stayed. I could have swallowed that morning like I swallowed every other. The cold glance from Jenna, the silence from Meg, the slow suffocation of a house that only wanted my money, not my presence. I could have told myself it would pass, that maybe Jenna would outgrow her cruelty, or Meg would wake up and defend me, or Cody would stop drawing monsters in the corners of every page. But that morning I didn't, because something in Jenna's words, "We let you live here," reached back through every ignored insult, every eye roll, every moment Meg stood there and didn't speak up, pulled everything into the light. All the months I had pretended not to notice that they treated Cody like a stray and me like a transaction. There was no scene, no screaming, no plates thrown. That's not how I do things. I wasn't raised on drama. I was raised on action. So I started packing. Quietly, strategically. I didn't even touch the master bedroom the first night. I started in the hall closet, the one Meg always called yours when guests came over, as if to show she made room for me. I pulled out Cody's winter coat, still tagged, his sketchbooks, our old chess set, my backup drives, my work gear. I left the TV, the couch, the fancy toaster Meg said we needed. All the things I paid for, I left them behind. Why? Because they were her version of proof. Look at what Andrew bought. Look how generous. Isn't he a provider? Isn't he lucky we let him live here? No, not anymore. The digs had been escalating for weeks. Cody too loud. Cody in her way. Cody touching her snacks. Jenna didn't even hide it anymore. The sighs when he spoke, the way she'd twist her body when he walked into a room like he carried disease. Meg, of course, excused everything. She's under pressure. School's been hard. You know how teens are. I do. I was one. I didn't treat anyone like that. Not even my stepfather, who hit the bottle harder than he hit the time clock. No, this wasn't normal. This was learned cruelty, and Meg was her teacher. Because every time Jenna stepped out of line and Meg said nothing, it taught her that it was fine. That I was nothing. That Cody was disposable. That we were furniture in their home, necessary but in the way. The final jab, the one that turned everything from irritation to resolve, wasn't even shouted. It was another night like any other. Jenna came home late, earbuds in, makeup too thick for a school night. Cody was in the kitchen getting water. I watched her shoulder past him. Not a word, not a glance, like he didn't exist. Then, just loud enough for me to hear. "Not him," she muttered. "Freaks don't belong in this house." I waited for Meg, sitting 10 feet away, to respond, to correct, to lift her head from her phone and say, Jenna, that's enough. She didn't. She sipped her wine and changed the subject. That night, Cody asked me, softly, like he was afraid of the answer, if we'd ever live somewhere with just the two of us again. I said, maybe. He said, I think I'd sleep better. That was it. That was all I needed. I packed in silence. 2 nights. Essentials only. For Cody. His sketchbooks, his old Nintendo, the crumpled drawings of a house he'd drawn 100 different ways but never colored in. I realized then he never filled in the walls. They were always outlines. Hollow. For me, clothes, laptop, toothbrush, and the paperwork Meg always forgot I had copies of. The joint account we opened when we merged lives. The receipts. The utilities in my name. The car insurance. Her phone plan. I took screenshots of everything. Canceled every auto payment. Removed every card that traced back to me. I signed a lease on a studio the next morning. 2 rooms. Ground floor. Closed to Cody's school. The manager looked at me like I was crazy, signing without seeing it. I told him I didn't need to see it. I just needed to leave. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't leave flowers. I didn't make some sad little speech in the hallway hoping Meg would cry and apologize and beg me to stay. I wasn't her project. I wasn't Jenna's punching bag. I wasn't a background actor in someone else's drama. I was a man reclaiming his peace. I left a note on the kitchen counter. Typed. Printed. No emotion. Just clarity. Since I was lucky to live here, I'll be lucky elsewhere too. Thanks for the reminder. I set the house key on top of it. Not inside an envelope. Not tucked away. Right there on top of the letter like a final period. I didn't need Meg's approval. I didn't need Jenna's forgiveness. I needed freedom. Cody didn't ask questions that morning. He just followed me to the car, backpack in hand, hoodie zipped up even though it was warm out. We drove in silence for a while. Then, halfway to the new place, he said, "Can I put my drawings up this time?" I said, "Anywhere you want." We moved in before lunch. No furniture. No curtains. No fridge magnets with smiling, fake family photos. Just empty walls and a secondhand mattress I had delivered that afternoon. We ordered pizza on the floor. Watched cartoons on my laptop. Cody laughed. Not just a chuckle, the full laugh. That high, careless sound I hadn't heard in months. That night, he fell asleep before the movie even ended. Blanket tucked under his chin. Mouth open. Peaceful. I sat next to him, back against the wall, and watched the screen flicker blue and gold across the ceiling. No noise. No footsteps. No venom behind closed doors. Just quiet. Just peace. The next morning, I woke up early and made coffee with a camping kettle. Sat on the windowsill and watched the street. No gated driveways. No manicured lawns. No forced smiles from Meg's book club friends. Just normal people living small lives. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was trespassing in my own story. I didn't check my phone. I didn't wonder if Meg was awake, if Jenna had seen the note, if there was outrage or confusion or guilt. That wasn't my concern anymore. They'd figure it out. Or they wouldn't. Either way, rent was due in 2 weeks. And I wouldn't be there when it hit. The calls started 2 days after I left. Blocked number first. I didn't answer. Then Meg's number. I let it ring. Then again, 5 minutes later, this time with a voicemail. "You can't just disappear, Andrew. This isn't okay. You can't just walk out like that." There was no mention of the note. No, I'm sorry. Just panic wearing the mask of outrage. That same afternoon, a message landed in my inbox. Subject line blank. One sentence inside. "Did you really take your name off the lease?" Yes, I had. And the joint account. And the utilities. And the Wi-Fi Jenna used to stream her shows. And the car insurance Meg had assumed I'd just keep paying forever. I'd removed every string that connected me to that house. To them, what they called home had always been built on my shoulders. They just never thought I'd shrug. The next voicemail came that night. More desperate, less polished. "I can't afford the rent without you. You know that. What am I supposed to tell Jenna? You're just going to abandon us?" Abandon. That word echoed. Like I was the one who left something precious behind. like I hadn't been emotionally evicted for months. I didn't respond. 3 days later, the tone changed. You broke this family. There it was. The guilt script. You promised to be here for us. Even John says he always knew you couldn't be trusted. John, her ex, the one who vanished after the divorce. The one who hadn't paid child support in over a year. The one who showed up to Jenna's birthday party last summer 3 hours late with a gas station gift card and still got treated like royalty. Now he was the authority on my character. I didn't reply. Then came the real message. The one that wasn't about anger or pride. Andrew, they're threatening to shut off the power. I don't know what to do. Please. That one sat in my inbox for 3 days before I even opened it. I read it once. Then again. Then I hit reply. Now you know what it feels like to carry everything alone. Send. No greeting. No sign-off. Just the truth. The one I'd been living since the day I moved into that house and realized I wasn't a husband. I was a lifeline. A wallet. A buffer. A ghost in the shape of a man. Within a month, reality started cashing in. Jenna got a part-time job at a grocery store. Minimum wage. Meg posted a photo of her on Facebook. So proud of my girl. Learning responsibility. I read the caption like it was satire. No mention that it was necessity. That her college fund was dry. That the gas in her car now came from her paycheck. Not mine. Another week passed. Then another. Meg texted again. Just 1 month of rent. Just to help us stay afloat. I left it unread. Week 6. I got a text from a mutual friend. Hey, just FY, Meg and Jenna moved. Landlord didn't renew lease without second signer. That one made me pause. Not out of satisfaction. Not out of pity. Just a cold kind of confirmation. The house I built with my sweat, my patience, my money. Gone. The we they threw in my face. Dissolved. Now it was just Meg and Jenna and the bill they thought they'd never have to pay. I didn't cheer. I didn't drink. I didn't celebrate their collapse. But I didn't intervene either. Because they needed to feel it. Not just the inconvenience, but the absence. I had been the quiet gravity holding that place together. The one they mocked when it suited them and leaned on when it was convenient. I bought the groceries. Paid the rent. Scheduled the exterminator when the ants came. Fixed the leaky faucet. Downloaded Jenna's school software when she forgot her password. Sat with Meg's mother on the days she cried about the divorce. I was there. Even when they pretended I wasn't. Now they had exactly what they'd claimed to want. A life without me. Independence. Freedom. No man in the hallway to invade their space. No dad to tell Jenna she couldn't slam doors or disrespect her mother. No safety net. And like most people who play at adulthood without ever earning it, they collapsed under the weight of their own arrogance. I heard Meg was picking up extra nursing shifts again. 12-hour nights. Jenna dropped one of her classes and switched to online. For flexibility, Meg posted. But the truth was obvious. They couldn't afford the commute, or the books, or the life they'd built on a man they never acknowledged. Meanwhile, Cody and I lived different. Small, yes, but peaceful. We had rules in our new place. 1. No fake apologies. 2. No talking over each other. 3. No pretending things were fine when they weren't. Cody stopped flinching when the heat kicked on. He started drawing again. Not monsters this time, but houses. Whole ones. With colored-in walls. With people smiling in the windows. Sometimes he even drew me. One evening, I opened the fridge and found a note he'd taped to it. Real ones live here. Welcome. He'd written it in marker. Misspelled welcome the first time. Corrected it. Left both versions up. It was the most honest thing anyone had written to me in a year. A few nights later, Meg sent a final text. I get it now. I'm sorry. No punctuation. No specifics. Just a soft confession into the void. I stared at it for a full minute. Then I locked my phone, set it face down on the table, and went to help Cody with his math homework. Because here's what I learned. Some people don't see you until you're gone. And some only see the outline, not the substance. The money, the meals, the quiet stability. They think it's air. Automatic. A given. Until it vanishes. Then it's panic. Blame. Bargaining. But I'm not a ghost. I'm not a fund. I'm not a father figure they can dismiss by day and cry to by night. I was a man who showed up. Who paid the bill. Who smiled through the insult. Who stayed for a child who wasn't mine while raising the one who was. And when I left, really left, I didn't take revenge. I just took myself. That was enough. And what they did with the silence after, that was on them. 8 months have passed. Not a year. Not long enough for them to forget me, but long enough for the truth to settle into their bones. Long enough for the bills to pile up in Meg's name. Long enough for Jenna to learn that grocery shifts don't cover data plans and skincare subscriptions. Long enough for the house I once paid for to become a memory they can't afford to keep alive. Me? I live somewhere quieter now. 2-bedroom walk-up. Top floor. No frills, no fake warmth. Just space. Clean walls. Windows that don't rattle. Rent paid on time, in my name, in my hand, no one else's. Cody has his own room. His drawings are taped to every wall, curling at the corners, each one a little better than the last. He draws dragons now. Knights. Castles with flags that don't burn. Families, sometimes not perfect but smiling. Always 2 figures. One tall, one small. Always together. He's learning piano. Badly. But I don't care. When he hits the wrong notes, he laughs instead of flinching. That's progress. That's peace. We have rituals now. Friday night is board game night. Not because it's trendy, but because it makes him feel steady. He needs that. Saturday mornings, pancakes and too much syrup. Sunday afternoons, sketch time. We both draw. I'm still terrible. He still cheers me on. Sometimes we talk about the past. Sometimes we don't. He never asks about Meg. Or Jenna. I think he's afraid if he says their names out loud, they'll appear again. Like ghosts breaking through the drywall. I don't bring them up either. Not because I'm bitter. Because I'm done. Forgiveness doesn't mean return. That's something people forget. They think if you say, I forgive you, it means the door is open again. The bridge is rebuilt. The locks are removed. But some bridges aren't meant to be walked twice. And some doors stay shut for a reason. I forgave them in my own way, quietly, when I stopped letting their silence define me. When I stopped checking my phone for apologies that never came. When I stopped waking up with the phantom guilt of did I do enough? Was I too harsh? Should I have stayed? That guilt was never mine. It was a gift they left behind, hoping I'd carry it. But I put it down. And in its place, I picked up something better. Boundaries. Dignity. Respect, the kind you give yourself when no one else will. Meg texted again last week. A new number. Just a sentence. Jenna's asking about you. I didn't respond. Because I know what that means. It doesn't mean regret. It means need. It means Jenna is struggling. It means Meg is hoping I'll step back in. Play savior. Shoulder the burden again. They miss the utility. Not the man. And I won't be used like that again. I already left the keys. I already gave the warning. I already offered the most valuable lesson I had in me. I removed myself. That was the consequence. And consequence is what families like that always think they're immune to. They treat stepfathers like scaffolding, useful during construction, discardable after. But what happens when the scaffolding walks? What happens when the rent's due and the silence you once weaponized starts to echo? What happens when the ATM closes and the man you mocked is no longer reachable? They learn. Maybe not all at once. Maybe not in the way they wanted. But they learn. The house didn't fall because I left. It fell because they never built it right in the first place. They built it on entitlement, silence, and the unpaid labor of a man they never respected. And when the lights flickered and the heat shut off and the landlord knocked, that's when they realized it wasn't a home. It was a stage. And the actor they depended on had exited without applause. Cody asked me once, a few weeks ago, do you think they ever miss us? I said, they miss the version of us that paid the bills. He nodded, thought about it, then said, I like this version better. So do I. We're smaller now, tighter, not perfect but real. No performance, no pretending, Just two people building something honest. Day by day, brick by brick. He earned that, and so did I. I still get questions sometimes. From friends who only saw the outside. You left? Just like that? Don't you feel bad? Shouldn't you have tried harder? But what they never saw were the dinners where I sat in silence while Jenna insulted me across the table and Meg changed the subject. They never saw the way Cody would flinch when someone raised their voice. They never heard the sentence that finally broke the illusion. You should be grateful we even let you live here. That wasn't a joke. That wasn't a slip. That was the truth spoken aloud at last. And I believed them. I took that truth and walked. And now, standing here, in a home we built with nothing but truth and effort, I ask myself the question they never will. Was I wrong? Was I wrong to stop funding my own disrespect? Was I wrong to teach Cody that no love is worth self-erasure? Was I wrong to turn my back on a family that only saw my worth in dollar signs? No, because I gave everything. And when they told me that wasn't enough, I gave them what they really asked for. My absence. Now they live with that, and I live with peace. You tell me, would you have stayed? Would you have paid rent to be treated like a guest? Would you have let your child shrink in a house that called itself a home but punished him for existing? Would you have accepted silence as love? I didn't, and I won't. Not again. Not ever.